Good morning, everyone. So this screen recording is going to help you understand how to do memoir reading lesson 3, which focuses on the relationship of a writer and a place or the setting for which the memoir is taking place. A few things that you want to consider is number one, what place or setting seems to be very important to that character. For example, it might be a waterfall in Nicaragua where there was an experience. It might be the cafeteria in a school where someone was being bullied. It might be a classroom. Um, and then the next part of the post-it you're going to consider is what important life-changing events or issue occurred in this place. For example, maybe in the cafeteria your character was beaten up, or maybe they learned to stand up for themselves. Maybe it was something embarrassing. Maybe they had to overcome a fear. You're thinking kind of about a lesson that's being learned and the place where that's being learned. That's what we're focusing on today. And then you kind of push your thinking and bring it all together. So I'm going to continue with the example that Ms. Huang was using yesterday from 7th grade. And remember, this is a story about Victor, and he's trying to impress his classmate Teresa, so he pretends that he can speak in French. And the area that I'm focusing on is this part right here. After the teacher asks who speaks French, and Victor volunteers and says that he does. Then the teacher starts speaking to him in French, and he gets a little embarrassed. And then the teacher kind of looks away, realizing that Victor doesn't exactly know French very well. And so the very important thing to think about, and the setting that's very important to this whole entire story, would have to be not just the school, but specifically in school is the French classroom, because that's where all of this is occurring. So when I do the post-it, it says in the memoir, and so I would say in the memoir 7th grade by Gary Soto. Right, let me check that's the author. All the way at the top, it tells me my author, yep, Gary Soto. Then I have to find that scene again, where we're in the French room. Right here, and this part of the text kind of sums it up. Victor was too weak from failure to join the class. He stared at the board and wished that he had taken Spanish and not French. Better yet, he wished he could start his life over. He had never been so embarrassed. He bit his thumb until he tore off a silver of skin. So this whole entire thing is happening where? In the French classroom. So I'm going to say in the memoir 7th grade by Gary Soto, the setting of the French classroom in school plays an important role in, and the character is Victor's life. Victor's life, period. So again, it's the French classroom in school, and that plays an important role in Victor's life. The reason we're specifying characters is because there's a lot of characters that might be in a memoir. We need to make sure we know exactly which character we're focusing on and for which setting that it is that makes that difference. Then we need to think about the life-changing event. What happened was he was pretending that he spoke French because he wanted to impress Teresa, which was kind of embarrassing for him because he didn't speak it very well and he was extremely embarrassed. And in the text it says it over here, he had never been so embarrassed. So now I'm going to paraphrase what happened. The life-changing event that occurred is Victor. The life-changing event that occurs is Victor is embarrassed because he pretended to speak French to impress Teresa, but it did not go very well. I'm going to fix my spelling here. Okay. Let me get rid of that. So let me read it. In the memoir 7th grade by Gary Soto, the setting of the French classroom in school plays an important role in Victor's life. The life-changing event that occurred is Victor's embarrassed because he pretended to speak French to impress Teresa, but it did not go very well. This makes me think. And now in this last part of the post-it, we're going to take the blue part and the red part and explain how it's important and how it relates. So it actually kind of says it here in the text. It might not say it in yours, so you might have to do that extra thinking. But here he's saying if he took Spanish, then he never would have been in this situation. So this is making me think that the setting is important to the writer because that is where the most embarrassing part happened to Victor. And had he been in a different classroom, the story would have been, or the memoir, different. I'm going to fix that. Embarrassing. So this makes me think that the setting is important to the writer because that is where the most embarrassing part happened to Victor, and he had been in a different classroom. This makes me think the setting is important to the writer because that is where the most embarrassing part happened to Victor, and had he been in a different classroom, the memoir would have been very different. I'm just going to add another sentence for clarity. He would have not embarrassed himself pretending to speak a different language. Not my spelling right now. Struggling. Okay. And see, there we go. So we made the connection. Again, the post-it says, in the memoir 7th grade by Gary Soto, the setting of the French classroom in school plays an important role in Victor's life. The life-changing event that occurred is Victor is embarrassed because he pretended to speak French to impress Teresa, but it did not go very well. This makes me think the setting is important to the writer because that is where the most embarrassing part happened to Victor, and had he been in a different classroom, the memoir would have been very different. He would not have embarrassed himself pretending to speak a different language. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any one of the 3 teachers, and good luck.